I'd like to call the Worcester Town Board work session for March 6th to order, please. On the agenda, we have the dog control officer, Andrew DeYoung, here to discuss issues concerning dog control matters. So, and we also have probably some questions from council. So the floor is yours, Andrew, if you'd like to at least bring us up to date on your suggestions for the dog control officer's position and potentially population that you're dealing with.
Yeah,
And there's also a request from Alden to house.
I also have another one from Royalton too.
Okay, so the floor is yours.
Yeah, so. As most known, the Alden Dog Control Officer, Lenny, his last name, passed away. Which, when he passed, it took away their access to a kennel, because he was using his own private facility. Now they are without one. I know on Saturday I received a call and they picked up the dog. But I don't know where they took it, so I don't know if they found a temporary place for now. I have no issues with them or even Royalton using the kennels, because normally it's been quiet, but this last month I proved that wrong, because I was full with 4 dogs in one day. Luckily,
That's out of the ordinary then for.
that is really out of the ordinary, because normally I don't get a surrender. But I took 2 surrenders because I picked them up. The owners did not want to pay the fees to get them back, so they became the town of Newstead's property. And then I had 2 people bring me 2 dogs that were found on the road. Luckily, I found the owners within a day, so they all both went back to their rightful home. So, which hopefully that doesn't happen again, but I don't really see it probably being a nuisance until summertime, because now the shelters are all filling up. Which means the SPCA, the Buffalo Animal Shelter, every rescue. Well, I couldn't get rid of the 2 dogs. I wound up having to put them down because they've been with me for too long and they started to turn on me. So they were no longer safe to adopt out.
So you had 4 in one day housed at our kennel?
Yep.
And our kennel capacity is?
4.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so which is also, if it starts to become an issue, which it might be come summertime, because people are now coming out of COVID protocols. Now they don't want to take care of the animals because they're not going to be home anymore. They're now starting to go to the country and dropping it off to the farm. Farms anywhere in the town of Newstead, Genesee County, anywhere. Very rural, because nobody sees it.
Wow.
So I'm on the edge. I've been watching. I've had 2 people inquire about surrendering, and I just pointed them SPCA. Because I'm not taking, because I can't find homes. But I don't have an issue with Alden, because last I knew, they only take in a few dogs a year. Same with Royalton. So if we want to come up with an agreement with them, similar to what town of Clarence uses with Amherst. Because they have them dogs for Amherst. I believe Amherst still gives them a kickback from the fees that they have to pay to get the dogs back. Or something like that. But Officer Schuler from Clarence is willing to send a copy of their agreements and work off of that.
I don't think we have room to do that though, as far as the kennels go.
That's why I've also asked to put in for the grant from the state.
Yeah, but I
I know it's,
don't wanna do this because of other towns.
yeah, I just kind of want to get them off back on their feet, because it's coming down to, we might even have to push to build a new facility with new regulations coming in from the state. Shelters have to have certain amount of airflow at all times. And I don't know if
A
I'm
new
gonna,
HVAC system for dog control?
yeah. I just found that out from Schuler. Because he just got inspected by the state, and luckily she didn't have the little device. So she passed them, but he's got fans at both ends pushing air through at all times. But there's some places that have already been shut down
But it
because,
shouldn't be too hard to download ours, right?
No, but it's also starting to fall apart, like I've gotta go back and fix the hot water tank again, cause it's. Not heating up,
Like,
might have to do that, I'm just gonna see if this fix works, and if it doesn't, then I'm gonna need a new tank.
What's your feeling about a temporary, agreement with the Alden until they get to where they can get the one permanent, like
That's,
for the next few
yeah.
months or 6 months or something, as opposed to in perpetuity?
Yeah, I wouldn't wanna go full permanent, just. Just hopefully till they can build something to get back on their feet.
Would you stipulate, however, that would,
Yeah,
will give you, what would you feel comfortable with?
I'd say 6 months and we revisit, especially if it's. Quiet between both, oh, I said the keyword.
What if we're full with their dogs though, and then we get dogs?
Um. Like. I haven't had, like the last 4 years, we haven't had too much issue with overcrowding. I think the last time. Dave had that place packed was. Maybe 15 years ago, we had 6 dogs we had to house. And. That was only for a day and a half, and we had to just use the crates to house a couple puppies. And the big dogs all stayed in the big cages. But I'm also, if I get more than 3 dogs, it's kinda. It's a lot of time consuming, cause I have to take each dog out individually, walk it. To get it to relieve itself,
if they
try to
bring,
clean the kennels, and then,
if they
move on to
bring
the
their
next
dogs here, who's doing that?
so that's where it would have to be them.
Okay,
Unless they are willing to pay an extra fee for us. To take care of the dogs.
That was in the stipulation, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I recall that from the Alden suggestion was that
Well, that was in the SPCA agreement,
the SPCA.
those
Yeah,
stipulations.
that's different.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
haven't received any draft documents
Yeah.
from Alden. Yeah,
That must have been what I wrote, thinking about.
Yeah, for example, if he turned in a dog to the SPCA, he would have those same responsibilities
So I
or
don't,
have to pay.
the way I'm looking at it is Alden would have to take care of the dogs. If I have to take care of the dogs or my assistant, it's an extra fee.
Mhm.
But we're only gonna hold them till whatever their town's straight time is. At their straight time mark. They have to rehome the dog someplace else.
Do you know their straight time, the Alden?
I
straight-
know. I don't know if if they went to 3 days like we did. Or if they're still 5 days like it used to be. I'd have to ask them, but after their straight time, which the first day it comes in doesn't count, so it's. So say picked up and brought in on Monday, Tuesday's day 1. Wednesday's day 2, after Thursday, day 3. Gotta find a new place, I'm not keeping it. You're gonna take it back with you,
And if they don't, then
they're gonna be subject to more fees, because it's. We charge $10 a day. And $25 for pickup, I'd almost say for them, it'd just be double.
what information have you garnered about the potential kennel grant for
I
build a new kennel, is there any?
I know we submitted. Or I sent the grant information. And
Rotella?
Yeah, Andrew got it to me and I forwarded it to Nathan at Rotella. And Nathan said it's definitely something that we can look into. But we have to realize that we have to meet to what Andrew was just telling you. All of the new specifications
Yeah.
for a kennel, which are changing. So, and I think, I'm trying to remember what he said our share would be.
I think we have to put a small, I don't think it was 50/50,
No, it was not 50/50.
but I think they were the big end and we were the small end.
Yes, I wanna say, I thought it was like 70/30.
Yeah,
We would be the 70,
We
No,
would
it'd
be
be
the
30.
30,
oh, the 30.
yes.
So are you considering upgrading the current facility or putting up a brand new one?
I would say relocate. That building, there's no rehabbing it anymore, the concrete's starting to give way. I have just a bowl, water just pools in it, and it's near the drain, which is fine, I don't mind pushing that part, but. It's, the concrete floor would have to be fully replaced eventually, it still passes. Like during the summer, it's quiet, I'm gonna probably repaint the floor. Make it look a little nicer, but
How frequently is the New York State inspected?
they come once a year
Once a year?
and they normally come to us about April.
Are they gonna come more if we have other municipalities involved?
No, because they would come once for
Doesn't
each
matter,
one of them. What they'll do is they'll come inspect the kennel once. But they'll go and inspect everybody's paperwork at their own pounds
Okay.
individually.
Has Alden checked with Clarence? Cause I know they had they were saying they had a bigger facility.
I think it's because of the distance.
Right.
Clarence is a little far out there. I don't know if they reached out to Lancaster because they're kind of closer, but I don't know what Lancaster has for facilities because they upgraded again. And where their office was, it's now different, so I haven't had a chance to go talk to Liz over at Lancaster yet.
Did you have a breakdown of the yearly population of our kennel that we've had for the past 8 years or so? I'm probably up and down, but I'm just curious what.
I have the last year available to me. I'm still digging through the paperwork
Oh.
that I got left.
Doc, I could probably get you that because I have
Because of
all
the
of
yearly
these
support.
old
Great.
years
Yeah.
of his reports. I could probably find that out for you.
How
I think the last year was just 8. altogether.
total,
8 total, yeah.
except the other day or something, you had 4 in one day.
Yeah, that was
That was out of
just
the
the
order.
biggest
Yeah,
food.
an outlier.
Oh, yeah.
How soon is this New York State coming down with their new regulations for the kennel? They
I'd like
have a
to
year
see,
or
Yeah, I
two
don't
or
where
know.
can we get those regulations?
Probably on the eggs and market site.
Yeah, should be right on mine.
Cause I didn't know anything about a new regulation and all of a sudden when we went to go talk to Schuler and put dogs down, he was like. Oh yeah, they came and inspected and I guess now you have to have a certain amount of airflow in your buildings and I'm like,
Yeah, I'd like
Oh.
to see I'd like to see what that is, Andrew,
Yeah.
because that's coming from. One person to you to us
Yeah.
now, and there's other stipulations, cause their building's a lot bigger. Compared to what we have, is gonna be
Yeah.
a certain amount of square footage, how many animals you're gonna have there to have
Yeah.
to do all this stuff, so I'd like to see what the actual regulation is.
yeah,
I'm okay with checking into the grant. Doesn't hurt to check into that. I'm a little worried about. Taking care of Alden and possibly Royalton when. By your own admission, ours is a little rickety right now.
it's still usable. It's just
Well,
the next few years. Because they keep adding more and more stuff and it's getting tighter and tighter, especially with, they just changed to a new inspector.
Yeah.
So now, and she's a little more
by the book,
beyond the book.
beyond the
Yes.
book.
Yeah.
She was here Friday and went through our paperwork.
So,
Oh, so-
I mean, how many dogs you say last year? 8 dogs for the whole
Eight-
year
eight
last
dog-
year?
Yeah, for last.
So that's why I look at this, it's like,
It weans in ways, like I said, I've only seen the kennel full once. In the last 10, in the last 15, it was packed. But that's it, the most we've had in a year. Like maybe 13 dogs. So it's almost a dog.
Do we,
dog a
do
month.
we have, sorry,
Yeah.
do we have an agreement with any of the local rescues? Like if you keep them the specified number of days that you call them and they'll take them or?
I've been reaching out to rescues and they don't do agreements, they just, if they got an open foster, they're willing to take, but
Okay,
I don't think I've had to even send a dog to the SPCA and. I think we sent one last year or 2,
okay.
everybody's either claimed them or. Had somebody just come up and like, oh, I'll take them, I found them, I'll take them, okay. Here's this trade time's over, here's the paperwork.
it's empty on its corners.
Is some of this
Actually, somebody.
highlighted
Yeah.
Did they really?
Yeah.
relevant for
Yeah.
executive session?
The kennel or the house part?
Definitely relevant for executive session.
How about the part that is not, that Andrew could address right now?
So one question I had is, do you have the ability to check a dog for microchip?
Yes,
Okay.
I might have to send that scanner back, cause I don't, sometimes it doesn't read at all, and I know it's got a chip.
Okay.
That's the strange thing, isn't it?
It might be,
Blowing batteries or something?
I think it might be just a fault, so it's still under warranty, but I gotta get a hold of the,
This is the agreement with the SPCA that we were looking at, I believe.
Yeah.
So we shifted gears from the Kennewood Alden to the SPCA.
And I do think some of this is executive session, but I just had a couple of questions. Of how, if things are even feasible, and then do you? Feel like you have the ability to judge if a dog needs immediate care, is,
yes,
or, and do you
That's-
have a veterinarian that you work with, or,
we work with Corfu.
okay,
And if push comes to shove, they can't get me in, I know I can probably go to Akron,
okay,
right up on 5.
That's the vet at Corfu?
Yeah.
That you're making reference to.
Corfu vets are primary,
Our
then-
source.
yeah,
They're really good.
yeah, they normally get us in within a day.
There's been a good working
And then if it's-
relationship for
yeah.
a number of years.
And if it's after hours, the dog's injured and we have an agreement with over on Genesee Street. With the emergency vet out there. It's expensive, but I have to take them to get seen.
Where in Genesee Street is this? reference? Is it?
Right
toward
by-
Buffalo
right by
or toward
Airborne Park.
Batavia?
By Airborne Parkway.
Oh, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Emily, were there other items specifically not? That,
well, you brought it up about the. That's a dog being surrendered to you, do you have some paperwork that is filled out for that, or how is that done now?
I have paperwork to do for that. I could use the SPCA's forms, or I've been digging through the file binders, cause there's paperwork I've never seen, because we've never had to use it. Like the surrender paperwork, I finally found that and I used it. Like,
is
okay,
that a requirement that is just coming on board? Or that's been there maybe a couple of years?
It's
These
been there,
Paperwork for the surrender.
it's been there, cause you
Been
have
there.
to show that transfer of ownership basically from the owner to us. Basically,
That's the time that.
Yeah.
Bring it, pick up the dog, take the dog, is that?
if I pick up a dog, the owner doesn't wanna take it back, cause it's out of their control or it's just too expensive.
Do you have any idea of the costs of like doing a shelter? The like putting up a new one?
I haven't researched it. But, I don't even know where to start, cause
I'm sure it's not cheap.
When Dave was looking at it, didn't we talk about this a couple years ago? And I think Dave had sort of costed it out. And I wanna say, I thought at that time it was about $50,000.
I find that hard to believe these days, but yeah,
Well, like I said, that was a couple of years ago.
right.
That was pre-COVID numbers. Yeah.
I come across a scanner maybe a few months ago when we saw that big number, we sort of said, can we write it out with what we have?
I think the last number, and I could be wrong too, Don, I thought it was around 80,000 the last time we talked on it. And the feeling was basically, you just don't get enough use in it
Yeah.
to justify that much money. For, like you said, 8 dogs or whatever it might be. And I don't know what the stipulations with the grant's gonna be, you know, are they gonna make it, it's gotta be a certain size, it's gotta hold a certain amount of dogs. You know, there's probably a lot that's involved with on that, which,
I know the grants basically, it's just. It goes by not the amount of dogs you wanna hold. It does play, like if you wanna go, there's no minimum number,
okay,
and there's really no maximum number, it's just what you feel is more comfortable.
well,
For what you need to use it for.
the application that we need for
Yeah.
our town, basically, okay.
So we're still holding off. After discussion with the items, the contract with the SPCA. But from your standpoint right now, is what you're familiar with, how's your feeling to re-up the contract with the SPCA?
I'm gonna have to have it up, cause, that's
Part of
basically,
what you have-
that's where
You've got.
that's my fault too, to take dogs after the 3-day stray.
Okay. So we need to have that addressed
Yeah.
and do some of the items that need executive session to address it.
Cause I'm not allowed to transport dogs outside of county lines, so it has to be with them. Unless I have an animal rescue that's willing to, but
Well, how does that affect Alden? Is in
Alden's-
Erie County, but
Yeah.
Royalton is not, is it?
I
It's
think
in
it's because
Niagara
the
County?
line gets a little blurred because. Where he needs to shelter it is different. It's his dog, he's just sheltering it with us, but it has to go to the Niagara County SPCA. Cause it's still his responsibility.
And there's nowhere else closer for them either?
Not that he's been able to find. I don't even understand the full reason why he used to have his own private one, but. I don't know if his failed.
Hmm.
I don't know how old his building is.
Has Alden been dunning you for an answer to this or to the clerk's office to respond one way or the other? Or-
I know we've been getting a lot of phone calls from their councilmen.
What is their plan? Like, if they get this agreement with us, do they have a plan to build one in the spring? Or are they just they're gonna say, well, we have an agreement with them, so we'll just use theirs?
Yeah, I would like to see what their plan, I think we discussed that at the last work session, I believe, is to find out what Alden's plans are. Is this something like you're guessing 6 months, but you don't know for sure, right? You just.
Yeah,
So, or that's what the idea that you would be comfortable with, I believe. I would like to know what theirs, if there's grant money out there supposedly. We don't know if there is yet,
Yeah.
but they should be applying for it, I would think. And that's what I'd be telling their councilman when they call.
I know from the last seminar we went to. A lot of towns have gone in with other townships to get that grant. The more towns you have on it, you're building a bigger facility, but it's multiple towns using it, so it's not just sitting.
Right.
So do we,
No,
Probably help
sounds good on
planners.
paper.
Municipality can establish
That-
and maintain a shelter jointly with another municipality. These are like shelter requirements.
so do we wanna do an agreement with Alden, Royalton and us with building a shelter?
Where will it be sited? Midway between Alden and Royalton, right downtown Newstead.
Joint facility,
The jail,
yeah.
I suppose. If you get the superintendent of highways, Route 5.
It's probably in Route 5, there's other, like Brittany Road.
Crittenden Road, yeah, we got a bunch of spots. If we're considering that.
I suggest somewheres where there's not a lot of people. Cause like, we got dogs that you pick them up and they just don't stop barking.
I'm not happy.
Sometimes it barks that people will perceive them as torture barks. It's just dog doesn't wanna be in a cage.
Right,
Drop them off at Patty's house.
yes, I would take them off.
So, right now,
You can build it in my backyard.
No, they can't, that's too close to my neighborhood.
we got the NIMBY problem now. We could float as we have been denying Alden, not being good neighbors. But we need to address the issues with respect to the contract with the SPCA to nail that down. Yes, no. And at the same time, this dream of establishing a joint for 3 municipalities. If we get a grant, $80,000.
Well, that's what it was.
And then there's maybe some of this has to be discussed in executive session probably.
Fair enough. We'll put that down, go to executive session. Any other questions for Andrew while he's here? How is your assistant cooperating?
She's working so far. I only had one little issue, but we fixed that.
That's great, that's fine.
The only thing I have an issue is not with her, it's just with the truck. It is too tall. For me to pick up a dog and put it in the back. I don't know if we can get like a Tommy gate.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
I need some sort of lift, cause
we looked into it before.
I looked at the one that Dave looked at and. was reading the reviews on it, and it does not work on an F-350. Everybody says it's. They. For some reason, the F-350 is just too tall for it.
What, the Tommy gate's more of a heavier duty or lift gate, right?
It's so they have smaller duty, like that, they look like a heavy duty gate, but it's. The one I was looking at, and I can't get a quote, cause I put in for a quote from, an outfitter down in Alma. And I haven't heard back yet, but, it's rated for 1,300 pounds.
Yeah, so that, to me, that's way overkill, cause I looked into all them
Yeah.
too. There are ones, Andrew, that they actually make that go into the Reese hitch,
Yeah. And that
which,
was
which
the-
has a 500 pound lift
Yeah.
capacity. And what's nice about something like that is when you don't need it, it comes off right away.
Yeah.
So if you want, if the board agrees, if you wanna look into something like that. And get a pricing, and then we'll have to check how many quotes we need for it.
Yeah.
And,
What's it called technically?
this is called a lift gate, basically.
I thought you used another name besides lift gate.
Well, he used a Tommy gate, but
Tommy gate.
that's kind of when it's mounted
Yeah.
right on the truck.
If it's not necessary to have it, well, it's more convenient if it is mounted, right?
I picked up a 50-pound dog, and that was everything I could to get it into the back of the truck, cause I'm going from ground to basically my stomach.
Okay.
Another thing we were looking at for temporary until. And it kind of got dropped, we should have been on a lot sooner. Things happen. Was to get rollers, like this, I've talked to Chris about that. Something they use like at the supermarket, basically, when they're unloading grocery, from the grocery trucks. And,
I need something that goes from flat ground to
Straight up.
the back of the truck, or at least a couple inches. I don't mind 2 inches, but. When I had to take the one dog to the vet, trying to lift her up. It's not 50
No.
pounds of dead weight.
no,
it's
it's
50 pounds of
wobbling
moving
around,
weight,
yeah, yeah.
And
No,
it
we
was-
discussed that. I
it
would
was
check it.
everything just to get her up to there and then just push. And then when I had to load them up to get them to Schuler. The other dog was heavier.
And it doesn't matter what truck you have for that, really, right? So
I know with
there's a couple inches difference between them. There's like 4 inches difference between the 150. But when you get something that's moving, you get a crate
Yeah.
full of chickens, the same thing, they're moving around in there, they're a little harder
But
to handle.
if I get a dog that's 80 pounds,
Yeah,
is there anybody around to help me? No, no.
You made reference to a lift gate around 250 pounds,
no, the ones I was looking at before, when we were looking into this was,
500, you
they,
said?
they were 500 pound
Would there be
capacity.
something where it's 250, less that would still lift? Or do you expect that you need something more than 250, so the 500 is the way to go?
Well, I think when I was looking, that was kind of what you had as a minimum for that, was like
Yeah.
a 500 pound lift capacity is what they were.
So that would cover what you need.
Yeah.
As long as it lifted that
As long as it lifted,
3.5 feet,
yeah,
or whatever it is.
it's almost.
Are you going to look into that further and get a bid? So submit to the board?
Yeah,
Is there a figure below which we don't have to go out to bid on that?
Yeah, under 20,000.
Oh, good lord, it shouldn't be anywhere near that, should
Well,
it?
yeah, but that's
Just
to
a
go out to
question of
bid,
how
but
many
there's other-
quotes we need.
There's quotes, yeah, there's not just
How many
bid, there's
quotes?
quote,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay,
If
we need
it's-
3
if it's-
quotes for the bid.
It depends how much it is. So if it's over 500, the best bet is to get three.
Get three.
Written quotes.
just get through it.
Can you do that
Yeah.
between now and the next time we talk?
Well, you try to get through, you may not get through, you just do the best you can.
Call John, he knows how to solve that one.
I like John's idea about the research mount.
I
Cause
looked
that
at
can
the-
detach and reattach.
So when you go to a different truck.
Move to a different
truck. and you go over with
That's, yes.
Would you be able to get that type of attachment for this potential 500 lift that you're talking about?
Yeah, it goes right into
That's
the
what
Reese,
he's
the
talking
Reese
about,
hitch is where
Yeah.
where the trailer hitch comes out, your.
Okay,
Well,
fine.
Class-
So
class
you
three
pull
hitch.
that out, yeah, and then just slide that in.
So the combination of the lift and this Reese hitch, look into it to get the approximate cost. And if you can get 3 bids,
That one, I think the only bid I've been able to find for was just Amazon. It was like around $700 with all the hardware.
Yeah, that I think, yeah, That sounds about right, cause I think they're about 500 a couple of years
Yeah.
ago, probably this
And
was.
eBay selling them for 1,000.
I was looking at this, whenever we got the boxes, when I started looking, and look how long it took us to get the box and the cap.
I don't
That's
even want
what
to
I was
remember,
looking
you
at.
know, I got, I aged 2 years. Can you do that, then
Yeah.
try and get 3? And if you can't get them, then at least you record that you made an effort to
Yeah.
get us and so, and that would satisfy the requirement.
Usually if you go on Amazon, I'm not gonna tell you, you're a young guy, you know how to do all that crap, but. Usually if you go on Amazon, if you get a name, then you just Google that name.
Yeah.
You might find other places that have it, and then that's how you get your quotes, basically.
Send me the quotes and I'll look them over, and if we need anything more, I'll let you
Okay, thanks. Any further questions, Patty?
No,
There's no further questions. Very much. Thank you, Andrew. for
Thanks,
coming in.
Andrew.
Appreciate it. Okay, moving along. What time is
See you,
it?
bud.
7:30,
35.
7:35. Next item of business. Water. Anybody got any problems with the water, especially the water lines come through?
Not heard anything from Scott, so we'll assume no news is good news.
No news is good news on that. Sewer, about the only thing is the pursuit of Leisure tying in, there to the sewage line that goes Vakron, who would be a topic for the joint discussion tonight, as I recollect. So I hope you've come up with some questions or concerns about that. Has Scott shared anything further from that? Other than that, the volume
So
flow.
Scott
we
was
got
waiting to hear from the village, and I have not heard anything since
Okay.
last week, so I assumed we would talk to them about it tonight.
Tonight, very good. Planning, noise, I think I read an email. I guess it was carbon from, I was CC from, Carl Klingenschmidt to the council with respect to there's a 450D to change the word noise, which is quite subjective, to the noun sound.
Respectfully disagree with Carl,
Okay,
since I think noise, Mike pointed out that the legal definition of noise is unwanted sound. So,
as long as council is comfortable,
so I think it would make it, intention is there, but
fine.
the legal terminology and the standard
Yeah,
speech terminology are not always the same.
Okay, we don't want to get lost in the tickets under swamp, building projects, library.
And then, sorry, we did get comments from the planning board also, so if
I did see that.
anybody has any.
Yes. What were the essence of the
The
comments?
essence of them, my understanding is that they just wanted to take certain elements of it out of the actual law and put it into the terms and conditions so that it would be easier if it needed to be amended in the future versus having to go through the whole process to amend the local law to have things in the terms and conditions.
That was with respect to the penalty fee, right?
Right, specifically around fees, the amount of the fees and the penalties. I'm concerned about taking those things out of the law. Because of, then they're less enforceable.
That was why I thought you had them in there to enforce, because in the past, we had sort of,
And especially with, when we're talking about any kind of penalty. The judges aren't gonna have the authority to enforce our terms and conditions.
I
They're
can
only gonna have the authority to enforce the law. So I respectfully
Non-starter,
disagree with
yeah.
the planning board on this as well.
What's the feeling of the rest? A
Oh, no,
concurrence with
I
council?
concur, because I know going into this, our intent, the main focus of this was to marry up the special use permit with the local law. And that was the loopholes, I guess, that we're trying to cover, so I'm fine with that.
And also
For
to
sure.
put some teeth into it, a little bit more stringent than maybe in the prior.
So we'll see what comments we get next week at the public meeting and then, or public hearing. And then did you hear back from Erie County?
I have not had a response from the county yet, although Julie did remind me that by the date we set it in, we wouldn't be able to adopt it on the 13th anyway,
They have
because
30
we wouldn't be past the 30 days.
Right.
That's
So-
good, because I was hoping that
Yeah.
it would be able to be adopted if we agreed with it on the 27th.
Right.
And now the constriction is that no problem.
Mhm.
So we didn't.
Yeah,
want
so
to
I
anticipate
sometimes
on the
will have the
15th.
hearing and then we'll pass it that day. I think it should.
As long
it
as
should
Erie
wait till the
County's
next-
got the words in, agreed.
Yeah, so we'll plan to pass that at the 27th,
Excellent.
pending any comments of the public.
And the rest of these, Emily, these other proposed recommendations,
On special use permits,
yeah,
Both that and the noise,
They all,
they're essentially the same.
they all really relate to the same thing with the exception of the terms and conditions
yeah,
portion. I need to review that part of it more closely, but I don't.
I don't think I don't even know if we could put a penalty in it, terms and conditions.
Oh,
that would
no,
differ
it's
from
not
the-
that, he's talking about the insurance.
insurance.
Oh, the
minimum.
insurance part? My,
recommends that the insurance minimum coverage be at the
Discretion of-
discretion of the code enforcement officer. If local organizations, Grove, Rotary Lions Club may not have $4 million coverage.
So he doesn't have to require the permit at all. He can waive the permit and the fee already.
For these types of organization.
Right.
Which is what they've done in the past, church organization, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts.
and
So-
for each one of them examples, they have the coverage.
Oh,
They do.
Uh-huh. I don't know of anything other than Rotary Lions Club and Scouts. I don't know a girl, but I do, but Boy Scouts do. Boy Scouts of America has that.
they're going bankrupt, aren't they, with the child molestation or something?
Well, they're through it. They've reorganized through it. That's why, like, the local council sold off Sholkoff and Stonehaven.
They come
And
up with-
kept Scout Haven and Freedom.
So these recommendations then are not, we're not going to implement. them
I don't
because-
believe any changes need to be made.
Very good. We await then the public response on the 13th. There were, speaking of the 13th, a week from tonight, we anticipate we're going to have a quorum. And in event that someone knows they're going to be absent, maybe Patty, you can be physically present for the 13th. I've sort of put you on the spot, but
Is somebody not gonna be there?
well, if it comes to
the-
pass in the next 7 days, it's a rather serious or significant board meeting because of what we anticipate accomplishing. That's the only reason I mentioned it. We can't predict the future, but right now.
Right, right. You're saying if it needs to be.
Planning to be there. Anyways, moving along on that, that was the other idea. There are 3 public meetings. The first one is the home-based business, as I recall, is probably 7:15. Followed by the local law 1, which is special events, followed by local law 2, which is quote, the noise. So we anticipate a fair bit, depending on how many people are present, it might go past 15 minutes. But that's why I thought it was rather important. If any of us who are here because the quorum feel that they can't be there, something came up, then shoot you an email and say, please come. Okay. Enough said on that. Building projects, library,
Yeah, new pipe, I had new pipe ins in the library, they repaired the backflow preventer.
that's great for the plumbing.
Well, it doesn't really hurt there was a leak that was, all it does is just throws it out into the alleyway and it's becoming a concern with safety with ice going in the alleyway, so. I think the bill was under $500 if I remember correctly. I think
And
that's.
They do reliable because you've had them before. And so that's gonna
Oh,
get fixed,
yeah,
right?
how we got hooked up with new pipe was a few years ago. I can't remember the company, but it was one of the other couple companies that do that kind of stuff. They wanted like $14,000 or $15,000 to do a repair at the senior center, I think it was. And we put it out, we got another quote for it, and they came in like it's $6,000.
Fine, so they're reputable and they've got,
And they've
and the
been-
job is done.
Yeah, they've been
Finished.
doing ours for a few years now, Dawn.
It seems,
Some of that, so.
Yeah, they were just here Friday and did the sprinklers.
And they do the senior center. I'm trying to get them to the library, but as of right now, we're leaving that alone. Also, I was talking with Adam Berg and at Lions, and we were talking about the Route 5 barn, and he reminded me that we have no insurance on that building. So it might be something we want to see what it would
That could
cost
be a
to
problem.
add that to our insurance.
How did that get over?
You just,
yeah.
I don't know, I said it's been quite a few years.
Is it too late to add it for this site?
Oh, I think they can always amend it and put it in.
It might be a
Okay,
premium increase, but
I think we should do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
very definitely, that
Um,
wasn't picked up because they weren't apprised of the fact that the town owned that building.
They just thought, well, I don't know why it didn't get put on, but Adams.
Wasn't it part of a property purchase?
It was part when we purchased the county park is one that.
Yeah, so
Not the
I'm not sure if,
It wasn't, it
It
was
was
the
known at
purchase
that
of the
point,
entire
something like that.
county park. It was the portion, I thought, that extended from the woods, the north end of the woods to Route 5. Because
No, this was,
the entire, all the way from Skyline to Route 5?
yeah, this was part of the Skyline Park,
Okay.
all the way from there.
Okay,
So that was done
long
before I
time
was
ago.
on the board and.
Mm,
That's at least, what, 9 years?
Probably, well, yeah, at least 9 years, probably longer than that, so it might be something that. Don, if you want, you can reach out to Adam or I can, however you want
Colleen
to.
and I can
Colleen,
call them
okay.
tomorrow.
What do we have to do to get it effectuated and put on?
I'll
Just
ask.
put it
They'll
on?
take care of that, yeah,
Yeah.
they do all that, yeah.
And
That's
then
what
we
pay.
just automatically pay whatever the increase is.
Yeah, we'll find out what the increase will be.
We can't very well vote it down.
Well, we can't, we don't.
Well, It doesn't make much sense.
If it burns down, everything in it, you lose it.
Well, it's
Or if a
it's
tree
stone
falls on
building,
it.
right?
No, it's not a stone building, it's,
not
It's-
so.
We're not really metal,
yeah,
mostly.
Yeah. I think, if I remember right, when we did it originally, nobody could figure out the value because it was almost nothing.
yeah,
That's why it wasn't put on, it was no value.
yeah. Well,
So
there's no value maybe to purchase, but there's value to a building, because if you had to replace that building, it would cost you quite a bit of money to place a building like that today.
Yeah. I know there was some talk about just back it down.
But this, have we had an engineer look at it to see the structural? To see if it's
No, I think
worthwhile?
well, no, we didn't, but we had Mike look at it, then we had Dave Miller look at it, and they,
Felt comfortable with it?
yeah, and I was in there, and it's a sturdy building, it's worth putting money into, it's worth addressing the insurance on it. And
Very good.
I find it hard to believe it's gonna add a whole lot to our premium with what we have.
Well, like Colleen and I can reach out to him tomorrow, ask him to shoot us a quote and
Mhm.
what it would be to add and what level of coverage he's recommending.
Yeah,
And then we'll share it with you guys and you can decide.
Does that then require a resolution in order to effectuate that increased amendment to the insurance?
To the extent you're gonna have to sign off on the contract for the new insurance, yes.
Okay. The earliest that could be done then would be the 27th?
Could probably do it on Monday, a week from today.
Yeah. If he's able to get it
It's generally
together.
very fast to get insurance quotes.
Okay, that's good, the sooner, because then it's, until that's effectuated by passage and a resolution, it's not insured. Or is it insured if we say we want it? How does that work?
well. Maybe that's an executive session
Okay, fine.
issue too, right?
Okay, does that take care of the building projects? Any other questions on the building projects? Grants, the Dasney Parks, has anything come to the clerk and that, or Colleen?
No, however, I had a meeting Sunday morning with our congressman. And he is going to push some buttons and try and get things moving for us.
Okay, because it is past January first, and we had had some anticipation that after January first, when they get, that there'd be a bit more movement. Thank you for doing that.
Well, I had arranged introductions for the fire company at Pancake Breakfast for him. And they mentioned a grant that they've been waiting since 2024. And I said, by the way, we have one of those too.
Astute move, astute move.
So, yeah, he's looking into it for
Okay,
them and us.
excellent. CDBG, that was under executive session discussion, because there was a call out to coalesce to see about the pot of gold.
I think it could be under executive session for the
Thank you.
contract.
You're making a note of things we're going to cover, right, on the
Yeah.
executive session. Any other questions on the CDBG? Other. Where do I start? The disaster coordinator, that would be, Dan Kowalik, when the two municipalities are present. Okay. Question, this is not serious, but have any invoices been submitted from either fire company for reimbursement for supplies that was passed by the resolution recently? I think it was $12,000 for the village and $12,000 for the.
Yes, Colleen.
It may be too soon.
I don't recall seeing anything, but we would definitely want to ask Colleen.
I know the village was, I did talk to, Josh on that, or not Josh, Chuck.
Heist?
Yeah. And I told him that according to Newstead, it was on the state bid somewheres, but he said he was questioning some things out of it. He said they were gonna put it out for the quotes anyway, so.
So they're
That's the
moving
last
forward.
I heard on that, yeah.
So no invoice will be submitted yet until that comes back. Okay, that takes care of that. Mike's not here, but I was curious about any equipment / capital purchases for the upcoming 2024. We're not in the highway business. I was just curious if there's any feeling. Have you heard in the grapevine if there's any anticipation of purchase?
I know he told me that he was putting together some things to bring to all of you.
Okay.
I'm not sure when he's gonna have that ready and when he's gonna do it, but I know he said he has been working on some things.
Okay, thanks for that.
Mhm.
And the gas line that keeps coming up and is, although it's not on the work session tonight, my understanding from talking and having gone up to see it, the gas line is operational and it's been operational since January 10th, according to John Cummings, and it is supplying the gas for the JF. So the impression I had was that there was a snag or something, and we're trying to get Dave Wiersbach to come back. All of that's done, except there's something I want to ask him tonight, if he's going to be present at joint facility. He mentioned on the phone about an alcohol drip. When he's out of town and he knows he's going to be out of town, he switches to the National Fuel to prevent any problems from occurring. Because apparently he's the one that knows the magic to solve the problem. The meter is working fine. It just requires an alcohol drip. And I'd like to check him out on that. The other is frequency and penalty for false fire alarms that may have been lodged in the town of Newstead. We passed, didn't we, a few months ago, or a year or so ago, penalties for false alarms after the second and third. If there have been any claims coming, so that you penalize for it, have we, who follows that up, and has that been done?
Yes, that is the building department, and they do.
They do, but we
Yes.
just don't get in the building department report, anything relevant to that.
No, they send out the bill, the notice in the billing to the property owner. Check comes in, it gets deposited through my office, we put it in our clerk system, and then it gets processed that way.
Excellent. I was just wondering for information to the council people, whether that in a yearly report might be included from the building
It
department.
should be on the annual report I
Should be
give
on.
you. Mhm.
Okay,
There's an avoidable alarms line.
avoid, that's the phrase.
Where does that
Terminology.
go to? Does it go back to the fire companies?
I don't know, you'd have to ask Colleen that. I don't know whether it just gets deposited into the general or where she sends it.
Probably should
When it
go to the
comes in.
fire company, they're the ones that are running out there. It should go into the line anyways, in the fire line somewhere, so.
That seems reasonable. We went to the
Yeah,
extent
we
of
should
doing
be.
it to try to reduce the frequency of these avoidable alarms.
Mhm.
And we don't have any control over the village of Akron, my understanding is.
Right.
It's strictly the town of Newstead.
Mhm.
Okay, and so that has been operational since the resolution was passed,
Mhm.
was it a couple of years ago?
Oh, it's been a
Yeah.
while.
It's been a while.
Like when I first came
But
up.
but I just don't have a recollection of the reporting of it, that's all.
We don't see a lot of them.
It's broke down in tiers too.
If I had to guess, like last year, I would be surprised if we maybe had 4, maybe 5. And that was it.
I believe there's like a warning. First time is a warning,
Yeah.
and then there's a certain amount that's then it kind of.
Somebody has to keep track of that, which is time consuming, I'm sure, says building department.
Mhm.
What about this business? I got an email about a resident of town of Newstead to the west, maybe, I don't know, is it Utley Road, in that area, crop dusting complaint. Did you, any of you see that? What's your feeling on that? Is
Yeah,
that
no
a
feelings
concern?
on it. I
Moving
think, I
right-
think the email answered it, I think the guy got back and showed the email that he sent back, and the guy was okay with whatever he said, so.
Excellent, fine. Just a reminder that the meeting on the 27th starts at 5:30 PM. So I keep harping on that. Because at 7 o'clock, we have to truncate and stop because of the celebration.
I'm
Okay,
out of here
so-
at 7, no matter what happens.
Okay, fine.
If the meeting will be done at 7.
Okay, as far as the executive session, there were some items. Was it Art Bleacher procurement policy? Was that also relevant to the?
I think we can go in under pending and threatened litigation and contracts.
Okay. Yeah, and I just had a suggestion, but Councilman Joe took care of it. He reminded me that Patty had mentioned last week that she would be here in the event one of the triumvirate here is going to be absent. So we do have a quorum to carry on the meeting.
Since they're starting to show up, do you want to do executive session after the joint, or do you want to do it now?
Okay. Whatever you prefer.
I have something on there other, something I wanna look into, can we look into, and that is Spectrum. We have a few homes in our town that don't have access to Spectrum, and they're being told if they wanna be hooked up, that's a stupid amount of money, like $20,000. What can we do as a town to help some of these homes where the internet's really important right now, especially with schooling and things like that, when
I thought because of COVID and all of the at home and all that stuff, that they couldn't do that anymore. I thought that they made that, like the federal government made that a huge thing that these cable companies couldn't get price gouge, that they had to get access to people that were remote and needed it.
is there something we can do as a town board to check in with Spectrum on some of these areas and see what the pricing would be?
I thought we did that a while ago and Dave said it was like 240,000 or something.
Financially prohibited.
Wow, unless he said it would take most of the American funds.
I find it hard to believe it costs that much. I'd have to look into it because honestly, if there's a house there, the infrastructure is there to run the cable line down there. It's not like they have to put up all new poles and everything. And that's what I want to check into on the pricing and how they're coming up with this pricing for some of the people that are out there.
They
Yeah, I think it was 40 homes and it was like 200,000, 200 to 240,000.
That's what they allege, but I think John's saying all has to do is.
Yeah.
Wire,
Oh, I agree.
post it's already there,
I agree.
like 200,000. So you're going to check with the Spectrum somehow?
Oh, I'll probably work with you on that, Don, maybe, or maybe Emily and Mike, however we can do that.
We have a Spectrum rep that we
Okay.
deal with, that we could reach out to.
How many people do
Because
you have an idea?
I don't know, I don't have an
Like a
idea, I just
dozen?
had a resident call, and I know there's pockets in the area, and the internet is kind of a. I mean,
This
I think it was like 40 homes,
And how many homes? 40, Patty?
something like that.
No, and I think, I wonder if there's something where we can start looking at some of the areas and helping some of these people out.
Mhm. Yeah, we can sit down.
Okay.
least we can do on that.
I had given Dave a while back and I don't think I have it anymore, the name of a company that installed fiber. But I don't know what it was now.
Isn't there a company out of Rochester that is sticking fiber in?
Yeah, they're setting up a new internet.
Yeah,
Yeah, but that's expensive, personally. They got a long way to go to get your first light.
First Light.
Yeah.
And they're providing it, I don't know, somewhere around the Buffalo area.
Cheaper what they're doing it now. I was Tonawanda, I think in Buffalo. Tonawanda just did it, they went out.
And that's in competition with Fios, which is Verizon,
Spectrum.
and in competition with Spectrum.
T-Mobile offers individual service via the cell tower.
Is that an alternative that these people could look in, although they may not have access to a cell tower? The closest one is here up at the Beale Street.